Thousands of people across Victoria, New South Wales and Tasmania are under evacuation orders this morning after days of heavy rain with rivers swollen and communities on edge. In Victoria, residents in Melbourne's inner northwest have been urged to evacuate, joining hundreds of people across the state as roads are swamped, schools closed and power cut off.
Meanwhile, there's a developing flood emergency in northern and northeastern Tasmania, with the Bureau warning flooding could continue for days. Residents in the New South Wales town of Forbes have been told to evacuate, with the Lachlan River now at major flood levels. I want to take you live to these pictures we're getting along the Maribyrnong River just north of Melbourne. Mads, that's the Anglers Tavern there. Streets have been inundated.
A major flood there that we can see there at that very big pub, and if the chopper pans out, which it will in a moment, I'm sure you can see that many of the streets surrounding that tavern, which is on the just on board the Maribyrnong River, are also flooded. A very dangerous emerging situation.
We're talking about suburbs Essendon, Footscray, Moonee Ponds, Keilor. We are going to have all the details for you as the morning goes on. We've got reporters positioned in all of the key spots this morning, but first let's go to Danny Morgan in Seymour, north of Melbourne, and Will Murray in Latrobe in northern Tasmania. Danny, how many people have had to be rescued?
Well, Lisa, at least 6 were rescued by boat this morning. It's been a very difficult night for Seymour residents. As you can see behind me, the Goulburn River has risen right into I'm quite close to the centre of town here, and the water has lapped up into inundated many houses around here. I spoke to a couple earlier this morning, Myra and John, who were rescued by the boat that you can see in front of me here. They spent the night in their house and were knee deep in water by the time police got to them, and I think we can hear a bit of what they had to say.
They came up through the floorboards. I'd blocked off the doorways. I thought, well, that might save us, but it didn't. You could hear it bubbling up through the floorboards. And in the bathroom, the bath was full, the shower was full, and the whole house was full. We don't know how long it's going to be before we can get back in the house. I mean, it could be weeks.
And Lisa, there's a number of people in a similar situation taken out by boat. Some of them have gone to an evacuation centre that's set up at the sports stadium. The house you might be able to see just behind me here is one right on the edge of the flooding, but the water has seeped in. The owner just in the last couple of minutes has got back into the house and setting up a generator now to try and pump some of the water that's got into the back part of the house out back into the street and try and clean things up. So there's a number of people we've spoken to here that have got houses that are underwater. One lady whose garage, there's things floating in her garage. So there's quite a lot of damage. There's worries for about 200 or so properties around Seymour, and that was the forecast yesterday. There was heavy rain overnight, so there may well be more properties that are under threat of some sort of flooding in Seymour. There's a mark of 1974, a major flood in 1974, where quite a number of dozens of businesses and homes in Seymour were flooded. This flood is much higher at this stage. Good signs, though, around this little area here. Just in the time that we've been here, we've noticed that the water has gone down slightly. So, let's hope that it's over at least a little bit for a few of the people up here, a little bit further up from the flood, that they don't have their houses inundated, and hopefully it subsides quickly for the people who've got water in their house already.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a clean-up, that's for sure, Danny. Thank you. Will, can I ask you about the situation where you are in Tasmania?
Well, Lisa, behind me here is the command centre here in Latrobe that's been set up for the fireys and the SES. And in front of me is the Latrobe Council building, which is being used as an evacuation centre. And we've just spoken to a few people who have spent the night in there after being evacuated from both the caravan park and another couple who were evacuated from their homes late last night. They said they were warned hours ahead of time this time around, but after being affected by the 2016 floods, They didn't hesitate. They said on that occasion, they didn't receive much warning and they were badly affected by the flooding. This time they were taking no chances and came straight here to the Latrobe Council Evacuation Centre. The Mersey River here in Latrobe is at about 4.5 metres and is continuing to rise, despite the fact that it's no longer raining for the first time in a good 36 hours. But we've heard this morning that upwards of 400 millimetres have fallen in the upper catchment area, and all that water is now rushing down towards Latrobe, which is right at the end of that river system, the Mersey. Lisa, we've also got 5 major flood warnings here in Tasmania, 4 of those in the north, and we've got the River Derwent in the south. And we've spoken to the SES a short time ago who said that those raging floodwaters did catch some people unawares. Here's a little bit about what they had to say.
We've had 2 rescues of significance, one at Liffey with a family of 6 who found themselves isolated within their property. They sought shelter in a coordinated and informed way overnight. They've been retrieved this morning, and we've seen one four-wheel drive with a male and female occupant that endeavoured to traverse floodwaters this morning but were picked up. They've been successfully rescued by Tasmania Police.
In some good news, Lisa, there was a warning for residents near the Isandula Dam south of Ulverston that came through late last night. Taswater were very concerned that the dam wall there may fail and then residents downstream would be flooded. They said the threat from that dam failing has now subsided, and so the 42-odd residents that live in that area can now return home. But as you heard earlier, the rain may have stopped, but this flood emergency is expected to continue well into the weekend and could possibly still affect residents well into next week, Lisa.
Yep, that's the warnings we're getting. Will, thank you.